Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Both Ben and Lewis sent me an interesting story from CBS, and it involves people renting cars from Hertz. Now, I mentioned a while back about a guy who rented a car and came out one day and his car was gone. And it turns out that the rental company had just come out and snagged it and rented it to somebody else with no explanation to him until he did some research to try to figure out what was going on. Well, this one's a little crazier. Dozens of customers allege that Hertz had them falsely arrested over rental cars reported stolen. One of whom said it was just terrifying. A bankruptcy court judge is now hearing arguments regarding claims filed by dozens of Hertz customers who say they were falsely arrested because the company reported the cars they'd rented as stolen. Some of the people were even jailed. And the reason this is in bankruptcy court is that Hertz filed for bankruptcy. So all the claims that they're facing get consolidated into a single action. But there are some things you can't discharge so easily in bankruptcy. And the question is, would these claims get discharged? So the car rental giant actually just emerged from bankruptcy, but these issues are still being fought over. They insist that virtually all of the claims are meritless and says they should not be allowed to proceed for various technical reasons. They actually blame the police. So one of the claimants said a surprise traffic stop in Houston late last year became a frightening police encounter that made him fear for his life. He completed a project for a customer. He runs a renovation company. He was heading home 2 days before Christmas in a pickup truck he'd rented from Hertz. He and his fiancée say they had rented from Hertz about a dozen times that year, but that didn't prevent him from being stopped by police for driving a car that Hertz had reported stolen. Around 10 p.m. that night, police pulled him over and ordered him out of the car over a loudspeaker and then told him to do the old lift your shirt up and walk backwards because, you could be a dangerous person. As I turn around, I see both officers train their guns on me, he told CBS News consumer investigative correspondent Anna Werner. He said it was just terrifying. It was bad. Actually, I was really thinking I wasn't going to make it home. He was handcuffed, and then they told him, the police did, that he was driving a stolen vehicle. I said, that's impossible. I rent from Hertz. I'm a contractor. He rented it from them. He didn't steal it from them. He begged the officers to look at his rental contract, in which he says he was listed as an authorized driver. He says that after they saw the document, one of the officers called Hertz and told the company it needed a better system. And it does sound like it. The two people then say they later found out that the car rented had been reported stolen by Hertz 3 months earlier. And somehow it was just in somebody's system somewhere. He says, I was hot. Like we rented several times from that year. Several times. Those two are merely two of 165 Hertz customers nationwide who have claims pending in this situation. Claims have been on hold through completion of the company's bankruptcy case. Hertz declined to do an interview but issued a statement saying it cares deeply about our customers. And we successfully provide rental vehicles for tens of millions of travelers each year. Yeah, I'm sure you do. What about those 165 who got arrested? Unfortunately, this is Hertz speaking again, in the legal matters being discussed, the attorneys have a track record of making baseless claims that blatantly misrepresent the facts. They're blaming the lawyers. The vast majority of these cases involve renters who were many weeks or even months overdue returning vehicles and who stopped communicating with us well beyond the scheduled due date. Situations where vehicles are reported to the authorities are very rare and happen only after exhaustive attempts to reach the customer. If that's true, this is a very, very simple thing for them to prove. They can go into court and say, here's a rental contract that shows that the rental ends on January 31st. They were arrested in February. That would be really, really straightforward. So if that's correct, then Hertz has got no problem. Bring in the paperwork, show it to the judge, should be over, right? Until you hear about the guy who says that no, he actually had the contract in the vehicle that showed that he was in the middle of a rental period. Is that his lawyers making up stuff? As to pulling back police reports once payment is made or the vehicle is returned, Hertz told the Philadelphia Inquirer last year that the reports were valid when they were filed, and that it's up to law enforcement to decide what to do with the case. Well, Hertz should call the police department where they filed the stolen car report and say, oh, by the way, that stolen car report, you should retract that because it turns out the car was rented by us. So another claimant is Philadelphia area contractor who rented a truck from Hertz in April of 2019. He said he told Hertz agents it would be a long-term rental, and they told him simply call in each week and extend it. Just extend it week by week, which is what he did. He said, I would call, I would extend, they would charge my card, I would see they charged my card, and they would say, you're good till next Monday. And if you want to do it again next Monday, call us or bring the car back. On May 28th, Hertz filed a theft report just 4 days after putting through a charge of $2,300 according to court documents. And even though the $2,300 showed as paid on his bank account the next day, Hertz didn't pull back a police report that they had filed saying the car had been stolen. So on June 2nd, he was arrested right in front of his house and was charged with a felony. Everything turned into a mess. It was just a disaster, he said. After learning that the man had paid for his car, prosecutors dropped the charges involving the auto theft. That's according to his lawyer. In response to Hertz's allegations of misrepresentation of facts by the opposing side, claimant's attorney Francis Alexander Malafi said, it is Hertz trying to hide what he calls a corporate disaster. They've been aware of this for years, and instead of doing the right thing and addressing it, they're trying to sweep it under the rug, even through bankruptcy, essentially turning legitimate renters into criminals, he said. So this is one of those stories that it seems to me, this is very straightforward, and this is a simple matter. So a customer gets arrested while driving a Hertz rental car. They say, I'm renting the car. Hertz says, no, that car is stolen. Now, I will grant you that if somebody keeps the car past the rental period without an agreement from Hertz, then the car is, in effect, stolen. And Hertz has got a right to report that to law enforcement. So, when people get arrested driving a rental car and they say, I was renting it, I can prove it, I've got a rental agreement, it's a simple matter. Either they do or they don't. If they do, Hertz is wrong. If they don't, Hertz is right. And this is such a simple thing to straighten out. So Hertz tells us that virtually all of the claims are meritless. They don't say all the claims. They say virtually all of the claims. So some of the claims have merit. But the question is, how many is virtually all, or how many is it in real life? So there are 165 people who say they were arrested or accused of stealing a car during the rental period. Hertz says virtually all of them are wrong. So it'll be interesting to see. So I'll follow this as best I can, see if we get some follow-up, find out what happened. But I have a sneaky feeling that it happened more often than Hertz would like us to believe, because 165 people don't just come out of the woodwork and say, I was arrested for no reason, knowing how easy it would be for Hertz to prove their case against you if, in fact, you had overstayed your welcome in that car. So Ben and Lewis, thanks for sending it. CBS News reported it along with a bunch of other people. Dozens of customers allege Hertz had them falsely arrested over rental cars reported stolen. It was just terrifying, one of them said. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Travel light. Don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders.